There is something strange about time. A year once felt enormous, summer seemed to stretch forever, and a school day could feel like an entire lifetime. But somewhere along the way, time began to move differently. Weeks started disappearing, months blended together, and each new year seemed to arrive before the previous one had fully settled into memory. The clock did not become faster, we did. A 5-year-old has lived for only a few years. To that child, 1 year represents a huge part of everything they have ever experienced. But to someone who has lived for decades, a year becomes a much smaller fraction of life. The same amount of time passes, but it occupies less space inside the story. This may be one reason childhood felt so long. Every year was not merely another year. It was a significant portion of existence itself. But there is another reason time seems to accelerate. The mind does not experience time only through minutes and hours. It experiences time through change. Childhood is filled with first experiences. The first day at a new school, the first journey away from home, the first time entering an unfamiliar building, the first time understanding that adults do not know everything. New experiences demand attention because the brain has no map for them. When everything is unfamiliar, the mind records more details. The color of a room, the sound of a hallway, the feeling of waiting, the strange shape of an ordinary afternoon. These moments become rich memories because the mind was fully present while they were happening. But as life becomes familiar, the brain becomes more efficient. It learns what can be ignored. The same roads are traveled, the same rooms are entered, the same routines repeat. Familiar experiences require less attention. Instead of recording every detail, it begins to compress them. Days can be full without feeling distinct. This creates a strange difference between living through time and remembering it. A repetitive week may feel slow while it is happening, but when looking back, it seems to have vanished. There are few unique memories separating Monday from Friday. The mind remembers events, not empty duration. When little changes, an entire period can collapse into a single impression. This is why an unfamiliar journey may feel longer in memory. The journey created landmarks, the routine did not. Human beings often imagine that memory is a recording of life. But memory is closer to an editor. It keeps certain scenes, removes others, combines similar moments, and reconstructs the past using whatever remains. Time does not simply pass through us, it is organized after it has already passed. This may explain why some years feel almost missing. They were lived completely. Thousands of hours passed, meals were eaten, work was finished, but because many of those experiences resembled one another, the mind stored them together. The year was not empty, it was compressed. And this compression changes how a life appears from a distance. The beginning seems wide because it contains so many firsts. Later years can seem narrower because experience becomes more predictable. The mind becomes skilled at recognizing patterns. But that skill has a quiet cost. The more quickly we understand a moment, the less closely we may observe it. Perhaps boredom is not always the absence of experience. Sometimes it is the feeling of recognizing an experience too quickly. The mind sees something familiar and decides there is nothing new to notice. A room becomes simply a room. A walk becomes transportation. A conversation becomes another conversation. Reality remains detailed, but attention stops collecting the details. Time feels slower when attention becomes deep. This is why a few seconds of fear can feel unusually long. The mind becomes intensely alert. Every sensation matters. Every movement is examined. More information seems to fit inside the same small amount of time. But during familiar routines, awareness becomes lighter. The body continues moving, while the mind drifts elsewhere. The moment is lived, but only partially witnessed. Then comes one of the strangest parts of growing older. People often spend childhood waiting for life to begin, waiting to become taller, waiting for school to end, waiting for freedom. Time feels slow because the future seems distant. Later, life becomes filled with looking backwards. A familiar smell brings back a forgotten room. An old object returns a person to a version of themselves they had stopped remembering. A song can reopen an entire period of life in seconds. The past begins to feel closer than the future once did. This creates the illusion that everything happened quickly. Childhood, which once felt endless, becomes a collection of scenes. Years of life are reduced to several houses, a few faces, certain sounds, and moments that somehow survived while thousands of others disappeared. Perhaps this is why nostalgia can feel both warm and painful. It does not only remind us of what happened, it reveals how much happened without our noticing that it was becoming the past. No one feels a memory being created. An ordinary day does not announce that it will later become important. There is no warning that a familiar place will someday exist only inside the mind. The final time something happens usually feels exactly like all the times before it. And then one day, it becomes a memory. Time may not truly move faster as we grow older. Perhaps the mind simply becomes better at folding it. Similar days are placed together. Familiar months are compressed. Entire years are stored as a feeling. The clock continues at the same pace, but life is not remembered in hours. It is remembered in moments that were different enough to remain.